Letting go is much, much more than you think. When we think of letting go, I think in general, most people, it's just like, well, I'll just let that go. And it's a passive action. Or it's a really negative action because we're afraid, right? We're holding on to something energetically, spiritually, even physically. We're holding on for dear life. We're so afraid to let go. And yet we continue to hold on far past the expiration. And, you know, it's our own way of stunting our own growth. And I'm not talking about height. I'm not talking about physical growth. I'm talking about spiritual, emotional, energetic growth. Are you holding yourself back? Spiritually, energetically, emotionally. You may be a full-grown adult. You may be a badass man in the mirror or when I see you walking down the street. But just beneath that surface of that shell is what? A scared, terrified little boy. Holding on to all this hurt, all this pain, all these experiences that little boy had to survive. That's what I truly think is happening on the inside of so many men. And yet we're programmed as men, like, you gotta go get it, you gotta get that bag, you gotta do something with your life. And we go out there and we accomplish things, we get jobs, we start businesses, we get in shape. And ultimately, a lot of our dysfunction, a lot of our instability is shown in the relationship. It's in those intimate relationships. The things that we actually desire the most is to have a healthy, happy, harmonious relationship. And yet, like attracts like. And that's not just physical. Like, yes, you're going to find someone that if you're physical and you're in really good shape, depends what your internal self-image is, but you're going to attract someone similar. But then what you realize is when you're in that relationship, you actually attracted someone similar energetically, spiritually, right? Same kind of trauma wounds. You're mirroring each other's pain and suffering. And then that what? Triggers a lot of heartbreak, triggers a lot of dysfunction. And if you're somebody that's in a healthy, secure relationship, then I'm like, get out there and start speaking what your experience is, what it took for you to get there, because there are so many people that are seeking that healthy, harmonious relationships. And here's what it really comes down to. When you're afraid to let go of anything, any single thing, anything, you have attachment issues, you have abandonment issues, you have rejection issues. Because this is really a energetic talk about attachments, clinging, holding on out of fear. It's out of fear. And so often we'll stay there. And so when I talk about some of my experiences of letting go, this is a spiritual conversation, but it does manifest itself in the physical. So let me break this down for you. Stay tuned. Let me break this down. So imagine you're in a toxic relationship. You're in one of these relationships, makeup to breakup, just a vicious cycle. And deep down inside, right, you know, you're like, man, this relationship is so exhausting. Energetically, I'm exhausted. I'm always walking on eggshells, but then there's this voice inside your head that says, man, if you lose this relationship, you're going to be alone forever. right? This other voice comes in and starts fucking with you. You're going to be alone forever. No one's going to love you. This is the only person on earth. And if you screw this one up, you're screwed. You're all alone, right? That fear comes out. And so you're afraid to let go of the relationship, to release the relationship because of fear. So you stay in it and it just keeps getting worse. And you can't break the pattern. The pattern doesn't break once it's been set. So here's how you go into the spiritual realm of letting go. Is before you can physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually let go of that relationship, you have to go inside yourself and start figuring out what are the beliefs, where is that inner voice coming from that's in fear? Fear of abandonment, fear of being rejected, fear of being not good enough. So you have to get into yourself and you have to realize, what are your beliefs? What is going on? What do you believe about relationship? What do you believe about failure? And you literally have to start writing this stuff out. You can't figure it all out in your head. This has been my experience and this has been my journey. And so as you start to figure out your beliefs that are keeping you in a toxic, right, addictive type relationship that you know is not good for you, you have to get into the beliefs. And once you get into the beliefs and you start shining some light on the inside, where does this come from? It's usually your childhood, right? It's the things you experienced. Then you have the power, as I believe you are the author and the editor of your life. You have the power to then write down your belief. Where is this coming from? And you can edit it in an empowering way. Because see, here's the thing. You already have a definition of what letting go is. Losing, it's a loss. And if you define loss as being a negative thing, well, guess what? You're not going to feel good about letting go. So you need to be able to give yourself definitions, and especially if in this context of a relationship, you can then define it as saying, right, your beliefs is saying you have to let go of these old beliefs first before you can let go of the physical, before you have the confidence to say, you know what, I'm worthy of more. I can love this person unconditionally, but I have to love them from afar. And I'm not here to give you false hope, saying that if you let go of a relationship that you truly believe is the love of your life, but if you really look at it, man, all y'all are doing is fighting and making up and fighting and making up and fighting. Like, that's a pattern that you had demonstrated to you somewhere along your life, and yet that you're playing it out. And you've brought someone into your life that is also willing to play that shit out, the codependency and the enmeshment. And so in order for you to grow, which is the essence of life, growth, spiritual growth, mental growth, energetic growth, we have to be willing to detach, to let go, to release these things that are no longer serving us. And it's painful because your feelings for this other person are real. But you have to get even inside of yourself to start redefining your beliefs that's keeping you there. Knowing that you're worthy of more, they're worthy of more. And again, they say, everyone you meet is either there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And this is the most painful stuff because people are alone. But even in relationships, people, the vast majority of people on this planet feel alone. And it's because we don't have relationship with ourselves. We don't know what it is to love ourselves. We need this external validation. We need someone else to make us feel happy. We need someone else to make us feel loved. We need someone else to speak our love languages, because we don't do that to ourselves. We're afraid to take ourselves on a date on a Friday night. We're afraid to go travel and go do fun things by ourselves because we think, what? We're going to be weird. We're going to be strange. And that's the farthest thing from the truth, because that becomes magnetic. When you start to really center on yourself and do the things that you genuinely, truly love to do, well then, yeah, the people that were a part of this fake version of you, this false version of you that was built out of fear, right, are gonna probably fade away. And that's where so many of us are afraid, is letting go, releasing, right? I've always had that belief though. It's like when you let something go, if it's meant for you, it'll come back. It comes back. That's the most beautiful part of this healing process throughout the spiritual journey, is that when you let go of something, right, if it's not meant for you, it fades away. But if it's meant for you, it's like a boomerang. It comes right back, and it's so beautiful. But let's just say that you have an addiction that you want to let go of. Well, more times than not, you've created a pattern, right? And so for you to just break up with your addiction, right? I always have considered addictions like relationships, because it is a relationship. You are interacting with a substance, something on the outside, and a lot of those relationships are toxic if you are someone that has unhealed emotional trauma, where you haven't really connected with your emotional state of being. And so you have an addiction, and it could be anything nowadays. It doesn't have to be hardcore drugs. It could be shopping, it could be gaming, it could be working out, it could be negative thinking, right? You could have addiction to people. You could be a people user. Someone that's taking advantage of other people every single day for your own pleasure, for your own validation. And there's a lot of that out there nowadays. There's a lot, men and women alike, using other people for your own shits and giggles. And again, that's an addiction. It's because you need something on the outside to validate who you are, because you're carrying around unhealed trauma from when you were a child. And you need to be able to go back in before you can release that pattern and that habit. You can't just do it in the conscientious. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to stop cold turkey. I'm just going to stop. Like, that's painful. You're going to have withdrawals. So you have to get deeper, is where does this come from? I can relate this to you with when I gave up alcohol, I started really getting into the sweet tooth. We've all heard about the sweet tooth, right? There's no such thing as a sweet tooth. I don't have a sweet tooth, you don't got a sweet tooth. But I remember seeing a meme that said, you don't have a sweet tooth, you have unhealed emotional trauma. And I said, oh, fuck. I knew that was true, because I had already been way down this process. And so it was something I finally needed to confront. And one time, this was a few years ago, I was headed on a road trip for a few days, and I had to stop at a Walmart to pick up a canister of propane for my camp stove. Well, lo and behold, they didn't have no dang canisters there for propane, but guess what they did have? Easter candy. And all the Easter candy waved to me and said, hey, come on over here, come on over here. And I saw my favorite Easter candies, right? These cool jelly beans. And then there was like the new type of jelly beans. And I was like, oh man. And so I grabbed like 2 family packs, and I'm by myself. And I walk up to the checkout, and I guess they were having a problem, this self-checkout thing. And so there was a line forever, man. 50 people in a line. And I'm sitting there with these 2 huge bags of candy. And I'm like telling myself, I had just seen this meme. It's emotional trauma. It's not sweet tooth. My body is not craving sweets. It's not lacking sugar. Such an addictive thing. And I said, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do this. I was already feeling pressed because I felt behind on my schedule. Didn't even get what I needed. And I looked at these 2 bags of candy, and I fucking threw them to the side. And I said, I'm going to go this whole trip without making any pits, without purchasing candy. Especially my vice was, going to gas stations, going inside and getting bags of candy and all this other bullshit. And it's like I need to work on the emotional wounds, this uncomfortability, right? I was still processing some heartbreak post a relationship and the divorce, and just still trying to refigure out who I am in this world, right? Not having that as an external validator of saying, oh, I'm in a relationship and I'm identified by that, versus just being identified as me. And so I had to go in deeper to really get to the root, like what was triggering this addiction. It was clearly feeling uncomfortable, feeling alone, feeling unloved, feeling afraid that no one's ever gonna love me again, and having to go in and do some reprogramming, writing out some beliefs, doing some self-soothing, saying it's gonna be okay. Like, these fears are legit, but let's believe that if we keep putting in the work, loving myself, caring for myself, doing things that really make me feel great, make me feel alive, that are really healthy for me, that I will eventually attract in true love into my life. Someone that is also on this higher frequency, that is also working on themselves and healing themselves. And so there's another piece to this that has also been brought up, and I really, really appreciate if you're liking this message, like the post, share the post, comment down below. The community that we're building here it's really encouraging to really see the amount of men in particular really opening up and expressing some of their experiences, sharing some of your experiences. I really commend that strength and that courage. But here's another part of the letting go process, right? Letting go is equal to loss. You're losing something that you once had, and you have an attachment. There's a mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial attachment. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, and when I say I let go of everything, I literally let go of everything. I was willing. It's a willingness. It's a willingness to say, take it all. I surrender it all to you, God. This is a spiritual thing. It's before God. I take it all. Take everything. I want to be right with you. I want to align myself with my highest version of myself for the greatest good of humanity, because I know that if I do that, I'm gonna come out ahead. Regardless of what I think I'm losing right now, I know I'm gaining everything that is what I truly desire. And so it is this spiritual, it's not just forgetting. It's this spiritual process of saying, just here, surrendering things. I'm letting go of these beliefs. I'm letting go of, these possessions. I let go of everything. Just, again, it's a spiritual, energetic, mental release. It's not that you literally go to your bank, take out all the money and just throw it in the street. But it's saying, I'm willing to let that go. I'm willing to let go of this job. I'm willing to let go of this car and this house and, my identity, who I've pretended to be falsely, in order to truly get to the true, authentic version of myself. And I hope that you're willing to join me on this journey. True and authentic. Your divine identity, not the false identity. The false identity is carrying around all the guilt, all the shame, all the trauma, all the fear, all the pain, all the heartbreak. The true version of yourself is free. Totally free. You don't need any of this shit. You're free. And what's so beautiful, though, is that when you align yourself, guess what? The truest, deepest desires of your heart come out. But here's another process that happens when we have loss. Guess what else we have? Grief. The grief process. When you lose something, someone. We all go through this process at varying degrees, but the process still has to unfold. And there's 5 steps to the grief process. Step 1 is denial. Step 2 is anger, right? Step 3 is bargaining. Step 4 is depression. And most people, y'all get stuck there. Those 4. Can you even guess what the final phase of grief is? It's acceptance. And that's the missing piece. When we lose something, we get so caught up in denial, anger, bargaining, depression, And we stay stuck there and we just keep kind of repeating those patterns over and over again. We hit the reset and we go back through, in and out, weaving in and out of those, that we never truly give ourselves permission to write acceptance on the wall. And if you're someone that's going through a season of grief, my heart goes out to you. But I'm telling you, it would benefit you greatly for you to literally get a piece of paper, make like a target and write acceptance. And this is something you can see. It could be on your fridge, it could be in your bathroom, it could be on your mirror, it could be in your bedroom, but literally writing acceptance on the wall so that you now have a target. You need to have a goal that you can get to a place of accepting that everything has happened for you, not to you. You're not a victim. I know we want to get so caught up in this story, this ego, right? And someone just said, your ego is not your amigo. It's not your friend. The ego is not your amigo. It will keep you held back. You are holding yourself back because you need to bear this guilt, this shame, these things that have happened to you, that you feel so heavy and burdened to give yourself permission to be free, to go have fun, to be happy, to smile, to dance, to sing, to play, right? And in all that, you start to cultivate your creative spirit. And in that, you start to become magnetic because you're doing things that you truly love to do. Not things that you're feeling forced to do so that you can look the part and act the part, but you're not really the part. There's a lot of actors out there. Some of y'all maybe should be actors because of how good you are at bullshitting yourself and others. Academy Award shit, man. And you've been doing it for years. And it's all based on fear. That's the difference. I know that even just the exercise, man, like I'm ripped. I feel very powerful, the most powerful I've ever been in my life right now. And I've always been a physical man, but I did let it go for a number of years. And I can tell you that in the past, I was working out as a means of processing my anger, the iron therapy. But I can tell you now, as the healed version of myself, I work out now because I need to work out. I want to retain as much muscle mass and maintain as much strength and power so that I can then go out when I'm outside hiking and doing the things I love to do out in the nature, right? I have power, I have endurance, I have strength. And there's a lot of you that avoid working out because you have a very physically demanding job. But here's the thing, that's not good enough. You need to be putting in this extra work to keep your body really strong, because that's focused resistance type training to build up body parts versus just beating yourself down out in the workplace. Right? And yes, that's emotionally draining, physically exhausting. But I promise you, if you were to actually insert a resistance training cardiovascular routine, you're like, I don't know how I could do that. But I can promise you that if you could just imagine doing it and start doing it, I can guarantee you in 90 days, you're going to feel a hell of a lot better with the same amount of work that you're doing, right? Than not doing that and just continuing to beat yourself down. Down. So again, if you're grieving, if you're afraid to let go, I understand, I feel you, I'm there with you. It is not an easy thing, especially if you have attachment issues, abandonment issues. We all want to be accepted, and it's so hard to let go. But it is one of the most powerful things you can ever do. It takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of strength. And especially if we're talking about things, more times than not, that are causing you more harm than good. And some of this stuff's easy, but it's not so simple. Letting go of watching your favorite team play, cheering on other men, cheering on athletes making millions of dollars, right? It sounds easy, but it's not simple because you've created this pattern. You're living vicariously through someone else's life and through their success versus looking in the mirror, putting in the work, right? And giving yourself the time and the space to really start working on yourself. And it takes that. It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of commitment and intention to start putting in the work necessary to really bring about the results. But these results will speak for themselves because your life, as you see it, will improve drastically. Not just externally, it's on the internal. When you start feeling more proud of yourself, loving towards yourself, confident about yourself, like genuinely, your thoughts are, you know when you're having negative thoughts, and when you're having, and then you know that that's not your true self, that you're actually this. And it's a tug of war, man. It's a tug of war. But just like, back in the day, the tug of war, you ever try and beat the team by just letting go and seeing them all fall? You need to just let go and let all those negative thoughts just fall. And you can stay standing. Quit fighting with yourself. It's time to really connect with your feelings and your emotions. That's not weakness. That's real strength. It's real strength to actually do that. But so many men are terrified of what you went through. Embarrassed, shamed, guilt-ridden. If you need some help, I highly encourage you getting some professional medical help. But if you need someone like me to hold your story in confidentiality, reach out. resultskillexcuses@gmail.com, right? Send me a message. Let's connect. I'll give you a free 90-minute session. I guarantee you'll get something out of it, and maybe a lot more than you could ever imagine. Beyond that, Results Kill Excuses. Type in those 3 magic words to the app store, and there's 25 free lessons packed into 5 courses that will help you start to improve your relationship with yourself, and ultimately that helps you to improve the relationship you have with others. I love you guys. Keep tuning in here. Share this message. Comment down below. Share your story so that we all don't feel like, we're alone in this journey. Let's build a community of like-minded men, women, people throughout the world that are willing to face ourselves in the mirror and to become the best version of ourselves for the greatest good of humanity. I love you guys. You know the drill. Results kill excuses. Because if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. Greg's out.